what's your guys' take on remaking video games in HD from like old releases back in like the 80s or 90s?
It depends.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, like, when they redid DuckTales, I was, oh my god.
I played the shit out of DuckTales.
Just like the other game, except prettier. I can find all the same secrets, I know where everything is, I can still bounce in the exact rhythm to get me over that difficult area, and it's like nothing's changed except it looks so much prettier.
That's awesome.
And the music is a little nicer. I mean, it's a little more orchestral.
I feel Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy did the same thing with their HD remasters, which are just, oh my god, reliving those moments after, 10 years is just... It's beautiful.
Even going back further, when I got Super Mario All-Stars on the Super Nintendo, they actually had, like, Mario Brothers, but it was better graphics, and it played the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so much cooler. I mean, I still love the old games, I still play them, it's just, this is the updated version. They haven't changed anything, except it looks prettier.
So, what about, didn't they come out with new side-scrolling Mario games on the Wii U?
I haven't even...
Yes.
They did?
Yes, they have.
What are those like?
They play very similarly to the original Mario games, except it's the same pattern almost every time, which goes back into old versus new. Nintendo's quality is just awful now.
Really?
And people are like, are you insane, blah, 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 but I mean... Every Mario game, you go against the same exact bosses in the same exact order after playing stages that are very similar to the original Mario stages.
I like fighting Goombas because it reminds me of when I fought Goombas when I was younger.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, all these games, they keep coming out. Like, how many times are you going to fight Bowser's cousin and you have to hit him on the head 3 times to beat them every single time?
It's that same guy just flailing around, oh my god, and then stomp.
And Bowser, giant... godly Bowser, and you hit him 3 times and he's dead. It's like, hey, guess what? You're no different than your little brethren.
I know this is a whole other, pardon the pun, world, but in World of Warcraft, when they started coming out with the next expansions, they had bosses that always had a gimmick you had to be. It wasn't just, go up and fight him. I mean, like, would you prefer something like that in console games?
It would make it a little bit more fun. Another example...
Kind of like Megaman, where... As far as, like, every villain has, like, a particular weakness. So.
But they keep it original because they change up what it is and the style of levels.
Like, if you're basically going through the long levels and, like, the Mega Man games where you can choose, which guy. And I like how they all have man at the end. Rockman, Leaf Man.
It's pretty
Dust
nifty.
Man.
They changed that in Mega Man X, which is a great series. And in our playthrough, you can actually see a lot of the changes that they do in bosses. Like, you go from the typical Mega Man style into bosses that look nothing like a Mega Man villain. You're like, how do I kill this?
You've got one that's a Chinese water dragon,
Yeah.
That's not a robot.
But then there's, say, the Legend of Zelda games, which, since Ocarina of Time, have just been repeats of the same exact game, except for, A Link Between Worlds, which is the most recent. It's a lot like A Link to the Past. But all the games since Ocarina, it's literally, I'm going to get the boomerang. I have to use it against this boss. It's the only thing that'll hurt it. I have the bow. It's going to have a big glowy eye that I need to hit 3 times.
I found the hammer. Which one of you fuckers is getting it?
Yeah, it's just that with all of Nintendo's games. And, I mean, they've killed off Metroid, which is a shame because those games are awesome. But they haven't changed anything in over a decade, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for staying with what works, but when you've been doing that for so long that it doesn't work anymore, maybe you should listen to the fans.
Yeah.
I want a Zelda where my first item isn't going to be either the boomerang or the Master Sword.
I want the first item to be the fishing rod.
Yeah, go fish for something.
You got no weapons, just like, here's a fishing rod. And I'm like, whack, whack,
whack. If you have cool
monsters.
Concept, Onimusha Warlords, I think it was like the third one, where you traveled back and forth through time. So you were like in feudal Japan, and then you were in like modern France. How about something like that with Legend of Zelda? Like traveling from the past to...
Especially
with the soul weapons and the powering shit up. That was a fun game.
Yeah, or like, Link running around like New York City with an AK-47.
Back to Sleepy Hollow again.
You guys listen to Starbomb? Because they kind of touch on that with Link using his ocarina to warp and he winds up in Philadelphia.
Oh, in Vice
Liberty
City.
City.
Yeah.
Liberty City, yeah. And then he goes, God, this looks like Philadelphia. That's great.
Except you're more likely to get carjacked in Philadelphia than in the Grand Theft Auto game.
To quote the song, this place looks like Philadelphia, even more shitty.
Which is hard to do. I don't know, that whole thing with Link and the AK-47 is giving it to fucking Sleepy Hollow. The Headless Horseman's like, I've got an axe! And then he's like, what's this do?
Yeah, drops the axe.
Throws the axe.
Have you seen the new the Sleepy Hollow show on Fox?
I have not.
That's pretty interesting, the first season.
That sounds awesome, though.
Yeah, he's running around with like assault weapons and stuff like that. Like
he's still dressed like a redcoat from the Revolutionary War, but he's got a shotgun over one shoulder, an AK, and he still has a sword so he can decapitate people, but for the most part, yeah, he's shooting at people because he's smart.
Like an original idea, which no one in the video game industry has had for quite some time.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Red Dead Redemption, that...
It was just Grand Theft Auto in the Old West, though.
But it was in the Old West. That's new.
But it's still Grand Theft Auto. See,
that's your remake idea all over again.
I had a great thought.
So you agree with me that the principles of the remake are more important than the set pieces?
Wasn't Red Dead Redemption just a remake of Gun, though?
Actually, it was a sequel to Red Dead Revolver.
There we go.
Yeah. I would love to see a game where you go through it all, and then at the end of the game you find out that you were actually hurting all the good people. Like someone, tricks you at the very beginning, but I want it to be like a natural thing, not like, oh, yeah, they're hurting us, blah, blah, blah. No. I want them to be like, wow, this is really wrong. And then after all this, realize, I've been on the wrong side this entire time.
You know which game does that?
I was an asshole.
Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, no.
Let me explain.
Super Mario Brothers totally made me think that.
Let me explain. When you're going through this game and you're fighting these Goombas or turtles or mashing blocks or eating mushrooms to gain power-ups, all of those things, the Goombas, the blocks, the mushrooms, are people of the Mushroom Kingdom that were transformed. And you're breaking these blocks and eating these people that were turned into mushrooms.
You're eating their heads.
Yeah.
Zombies, Mario's a zombie brain eater. That's evil.
Which, the original novel, I Am Legend, like, the reason why it's called that is because it turns out he's killing all these vampires and everything like this. The only reason they're trying to kill him is because during the day, he goes and he kills entire families because he thinks he's killing monsters. He's a legend like a boogeyman to them that they tell to their children. That's why he's legend.
Yeah, he's like the Jason Voorhees of the vampire world.
Yeah, and they don't touch on that in, Megaman or, I Am Legend or that third one that they made based off the novel.
The something man.
The porno parody?
No, we didn't do that episode yet.
The Omega Man, that's
No, we totally did, because this will happen after that. I think.
Look,
I'm still stuck on the Doctor Who episode, so everything's all timey-wimey until I say otherwise.
Well, Sleepy Hollow.
This happened last week, by the way.
Yeah.
So there's this new game coming out, I think, next year. And ironically, the game is titled Last Year.
Oh God, I can't wait for that week we kickstarted it.
There's this game called there's this game called Last Year that's coming out. What it is, it's an online first-person shooter, but it's got an incredible twist that I've never heard of before in video games. I don't know if you guys, but what you do is you get online and you're in a match with 6 people. It's 5 versus 1. It's 5 high school kids versus the one supernatural serial killer.
Evolve has that. It's coming out next month, and we're probably going to either live stream it or record it on our channel as well.
I gotcha.
Because it looks awesome.
I don't know. I can't think of another game from older.
It's kind of like Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead. That's the zombie one.
Yeah, 4 people are playing as survivors, and then there's 4 of these zombies. But the difference is, in Last Year, it's 5 humans and a serial killer. So yeah, it's Jason Voorhees versus survivors.
I think it sounds rad. That's a new.
Actually, speaking of which, they're coming out with a new Friday the 13th game where you can actually play as Jason Voorhees.
Rad?
Yeah,
I'm down.
And I like where they're going with this, because I'm sick of all these Call of Duty Battlefield games. Great FPS shooters are awesome.
Deathmatches,
But I want something that's more than just running around mindlessly killing things, because we have enough of that in video games.
A totally original concept. I've never heard of it before. I just saw it and I picked it up. It was Jaws on the PS2, where you actually play as the fucking shark.
I heard that was a great game.
That is so much fun. It's like, oh, you have to open that door with the card reader. Like, how do I get the card? You jump up, bite the fucking scientist, drag him to the card reader, and smack him into it until the fucking door opens.
As bad as this is, there's a game. So Snap is deathly afraid of sharks. So it's just,
oh crap! I think we lost him.
I can just picture that. That's awful.
Oh man. There was a Jackass game on PlayStation 2 as well that was it was gorgeous because, you think Jackass and you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of hurting yourself, and you wouldn't believe how much fun throwing yourself down a mountain really is when you have crazy injuries like sprained vagina. It brings up a question of, how does one sprain a vagina?
You must have been playing as Steve-O.
Do you get points for like how much damage you get, like in Burnout?
Yes, and then it gives you a list of the injuries, and oh my god, some of the funniest injuries you'll ever see.
They could have called it Burnout.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Johnny Knoxville's Leonardo.
At least he's trying to make something of himself, even if it is a joke.
Well, it's a Michael Bay movie. All of them are jokes.
Yeah.
Fuck that movie.
Yes.
I was just thinking would be a pretty awesome game where at the end you find out that, like you were the bad guy the whole time. How about like a zombie shooter game where you're running around, you're shooting like zombies, but they're kind of like the Resident Evil 4 ones where they have like, like machetes and stuff like that, right? You get to the very end and you're like sitting there on the ground like dying from something, right? And you go flashback and you flash back to when you took PCP before you started.
Or the last boss in the game, it beats you down. No matter what you do, you win, but it still beats you. And the next thing you know, they're putting you back on your meds, and you're back in the straitjacket.
Have you guys ever played Alice at all?
Oh, American McGee?
Yeah, American McGee's Alice.
Never did.
That's basically the story of American McGee's Alice.
Well,
You're a girl in a mental asylum who's on a fuck ton of pills.
It was in Wonderland.
When you're escaping the mental asylum, you're killing all these people. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, like at the end of Dark Corners of the Earth, which was a Call of Cthulhu game, it was really cool. It was really fun because you start the game and it eventually evolves into a first-person shooter where you can pick up a Tommy gun, which doesn't work because the kickback is crazy. But you start off and your only weapon is a notepad, and eventually, like a few hours in, you can pick up a crowbar. And at the end of that game, your guy has just seen so much shit that he hangs himself.
Nice. Well, that's the end of a Cthulhu game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've gone too far.
And I love a lot of the new games coming out. Like Five Nights at Freddy's is.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
actually watched your guys' video of Five Nights at Freddy's.
What a cool
Those
game.
girls, I swear to God.
Oh, it was so funny because one had never seen Five Nights at Freddy's and she wasn't really afraid of it, and the other one, oh my
Doesn't
god,
watch horror movies.
Yeah, see, that's the difference. When I saw the jump scares and the bunny comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But I've been watching horror movies with this guy for the last 15 years. A jump scare means nothing to me.
Yeah, jump scares and things, they don't scare me either. Like, I'm not fazed by scary movies. But the unique thing about Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's on mobile platforms too, I think it's different. Because I was talking to someone, they're like, oh, that game didn't scare me. But I'm like, I don't get scared by things, and this game freaks me out. But then I realized, I played on my laptop with a really nice high-definition screen, and all the lights were off, the sound was up, and when you're watching it, it's really funny. So you're just like, these idiots are getting scared by these fucking jump scares.
But
and
when
then,
you play it, I'm
you
starting
play
to
it.
sweat. I'm just like...
And you're like, alright, so I'm checking the cameras, okay, and then you'll probably catch one of the animatronics to the side of you, and you'll catch it in time. You're like, oh shit, Bonnie! Oh, okay, I'm safe. And then one time you'll think you're safe and everything's all clear, and you'll catch Foxy running down the hall, or you'll be in the room and you'll try to close the door because you'll think the one's there, and all of a sudden the door doesn't close, and you're like, why isn't this happening? So then you anticipate the jump scare, you're like, alright, well, I'm gonna get jumped at. And then nothing happens. You're like, well, what the hell is going on? You go in the camera, you leave the camera, nothing happens, and then out of nowhere, just and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
I think the funniest Five Nights at Freddy's video I've ever seen, I think it was a Teens React video, but there was one part where, you're looking at the thing, and it all figures out north, east, west, and you're sitting to the south. So the guy sees on the camera that Foxy is running down the west hallway. So he closes the east door. And he's like, oh my god! And he's like, holy shit, he almost...
Yeah, oh god. Foxy is
so
absolutely terrifying. And the thing that I really like about that game is how simple and easy it is, but at the same time, it is really, really difficult because you have to constantly be thinking. What I don't like about it is it kind of feeds on the mobile app gamers that don't really want substance in their game. They just want little teeny tiny, Flappy Bird.
They just want to whip it out and play with it on the bus,
To be fair, actually looking at some of the subtext in Five Nights at Freddy's,
yes,
the backstory,
it has a huge
that's what I like about it. I could go forever without playing the fucking games. I watch other people play it. But tell me the story of, Fred's Diner and the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the one before the second game.
I want to know more about that. The animatronic or whatever.
Yeah, I want to know more about the mangle and the marionette puppet that's fucking jumping out.
The story behind it is just absolutely great, and there are a lot of great games that do have that mobile app theme. Like Clash of Clans is pretty fun for a little mobile app, and then there's also games like Don't Starve, which... I was talking to Dave about it earlier. Don't Starve it's kind of like Minecraft, right? But it looks a little bit better because it's not all blocky and horrible 8-bit and modern graphics. But it's so difficult, and it's not the time-based thing. It's legitimately a difficult game. But it's awesome because you start off, you're waking up and Maxwell's standing over you, and he'll tell you a little piece of advice, or he'll make fun of you, and you're like, I'm just this person out in the middle of nowhere, and then you collect sticks, and then you build an axe, and after a little while, you're like, cool, awesome, this is great, I'm surviving. Oh shit, I need food. So then you have to, go find a beefalo, which is like a giant cow, and you're like, alright, well, how hard is this? I have to kill this thing. You attack it, and then it hits you, and you're like, oh god, half my health is gone, what am I gonna do? I need to eat. Lord. I'm starving. It's so much fun, though, because it's like, throw someone in the woods. Let's see how they operate.
That's a video game. Throw them in the woods.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
That's something we should play, is that Into the Forest game that's in beta right now, where there's an indigenous tribe, and you have to survive on your own, and you can try to interact with them, but they'll kill you if you interact with them too much.
Whoa!
Yeah, Markiplier was playing it. We'll have to check it out.
One that I heard about that was totally hard. It kind of reminded me of Civilization. Just the... what kind of games were Civilization? It wasn't RTS.
World buildings.
It was turn-based.
It was Populous-ish.
They got this new one out. I think it's called Exiled, where you have to build a town. It's kind of like SimCity. You gotta build your town, and you gotta make sure that the food and taxes are going the right way. But it's so detailed that you have to spend enough time to build this house and enough time to plant the vegetables before winter comes, which is going to be in the next 20 minutes because the game is sped up. And if you don't do it, everyone dies or gets dysentery.
Oh, so it's Oregon Trail meets SimCity.
Yeah, but it's extremely difficult. And what you can do is you can fast forward it 20 years to see if everyone's still alive. If you built a good sustainable place. And it's really difficult.
We should play an Oregon Trail on our channel.
We should play Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail is pretty fun. The zombie one.
You know what I loved in Civilization? I remember creating a Scottish feudal Japanese society.
Oh, yeah.
And then taking a bunch of samurais and putting them on this island in the middle. And they never changed with modern times, so they're just these samurais just sitting in the middle of this island for 500 years with everything else a modern city around them.
So it's legitimate Japan?
Yeah. It's Scotland, because I gave it...
It's Scotland in the middle of Japan. If you just turn Japan into a giant donut and put Scotland in the middle.
Yeah, I gave them a feudal system, all the rules and stuff like that.
I haven't played a Civilization game. I really need to do it.
Last one I played was Civilization 2.
I was tempted because I saw they're on Steam. Heroes of Might and Magic 3 HD. I'm going to buy that. Because I loved that game when I was playing it all those years ago. And I was like, hey, that was a fun game. I'm going to do that.
There's a one. If we ever do a Let's Play, there's a game.
There's a game that would be a good one.
Beaten up, yeah.
And what's funny is those games were still difficult. What I've noticed as well is games now have so many glitches that are game
What do you mean?
breaking. Skyrim, you can level up 6 different stats to 100 before ever leaving the intro area. Yeah, because one of the intros, there's 2 paths you can take. One of them, you go into this little dungeon area, and the guy tells you to take sword off the wall. Well, you can take 2 off the wall, and if you just attack him and stuff, you can raise your double-handed, you can raise your one-handed, you can raise your unarmed.
NPC, he doesn't die.
And then, and then you can also do, like...
He's a story-relevant character.
There you go.
Yeah, and you can also do all of your magic skills, and it's like, wow, I can walk out of the intro area able to just completely wreck the game.
Well, that's not exactly the developer's fault. What that is there's been a huge decline in game testers. I had a friend who lives in LA who used to be a game tester.
I'm willing to test any game.
I would love to do that. You know, be a beta or an alpha, or even before that. You know, pre-production.
Apparently, Nintendo only pays $11 an hour for stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
It's in Bellevue, Washington.
No, that's too far.
But yeah, there's been less and less game testers. Like I know one funny glitch that was happening was in Fallout New Vegas. It apparently has lots and lots of glitches in it. The one that I remember specifically was in the beginning when you start your game, the guy's head like comes off of his body and like moves around and then comes back.
Oh god, glitches have been really bad. I picked up Borderlands pre-sequel, which was not made by 2K. It was made by 2K Australia. So
Interesting.
they also made BioShock, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite. Great games. Then they made Alien Colonel Marines.
Aww.
I see you now. So after that, they made Borderlands pre-sequel, and it's great. I was playing it with my girlfriend, and then we're doing this story mission, and it just didn't spawn.
Wait, you have
things.
a girlfriend?
She's an Asian. She completes me. But
I told you.
she's coming into view. My girlfriend, everyone. She's fantastic. I love her. We're playing Borderlands pre-sequel, and it just stopped the game completely over this glitch because the story character didn't spawn. I'm like, what the hell? What did we do wrong? We do like 4 other missions, and it didn't work. We turned it off for a week. We come back to it, it still didn't work, and we're like, fuck it, we'll just go kill random shit, and then...
It wasn't just a one-time
No,
fluke.
and then we just happened to walk past it, and it reset the entire mission, and it was like, oh, alright, cool, let's actually do this now, and we finally beat it, but we encountered multiple game-breaking glitches throughout it, and it was just awful.
They weren't just one-time glitches.
No.
They kept happening every time.
Yeah, in different parts of the game, and it was awful.
That actually takes me back to the whole online downloadable stuff with the updates. You know, back in the day, when you made a video game, you made a fucking cartridge, and if that shit didn't work, you were fired.
Katie!
That worked perfectly as a train wreck. That was the best orchestrated train wreck in history. But like, okay, let's say Kirby's Adventure.
Sure.
Great game.
Fantastic game.
But if you fucked up in the development and there was a glitch in the level you never saw it was going to happen, and somebody found it and it fucked up the whole game, you're stuck with it because you can't fix a cartridge.
Yeah, you were recalling the cartridges, reprogramming them, sending them back out.
If you bothered to do that, which, you know, that's an awful lot of money and time to put into it.
It has happened with a few games, though. Only a few. I think it happened with one of the original Zelda releases in Japan.
No kidding.
So,
Well, I do remember hearing that the gold cartridge version of one of the games, I don't remember if it was Ocarina or Majora's Mask, was like the buggiest box of cockroaches this side of New York subways.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but I remember hearing about that too.
Yeah, and I was like thinking about it, and I was like, well, now these days, if you skip something or you miss something, or oh, you know, it's just a little glitch, no one will ever figure that out. Now it's like, oh, they figured that out. Well, quick, patch it quick. So like it gives the game developers license to be a little bit lazy with their programming, because, you know, like I said with Marvel superheroes on the Lego games, they could have fixed all that shit before they put the game out, but they were just like,
We'll patch it.
whatever, it'll work on the PS4, I guess, maybe. If not, we'll just put a patch out.
Yeah, and you know, I think there's like a big push for companies to get their games out as quickly as possible in some cases too, and they're like, well, we can just patch it later, so
Yeah,
they'll just do.
Yeah, I actually liked what Nintendo said about Super Smash Bros. Wii U, because it shipped with very unbalanced characters, but no one's trying to make a serious fighting game out of Smash. I mean, come on, it's not Street Fighter, it's not Guilty Gear, it's not BlazBlue, it's not any of them.
It's not Tekken.
No, it's
Calm
not.
your tits.
And
It's not a MOBA, you know.
yeah, it's not like League of Legends, serious esport.
Yeah.
It's Smash.
There's no ranking board involved.
Yeah, and Nintendo came out and said, yeah, we're not going to push any updates to it. You got the game how it is. We're going to release Mewtwo, that's it. Because fans absolutely exploded, Nintendo's now patching it, and I'm like, guys...
They really are.
Yeah, they're patching it. It's like, guys, come on. You didn't patch the game-breaking Meta Knight in Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
That's your opinion.
He becomes invincible. You can't beat him.
But that's very unfortunate. I mean, like, because there they had another Smash Brothers game, you know, from the old ones, and then the GameCube.
Just be happy.
Yeah, you got all these characters. You can play them. You know, figure it out. Figure out how to beat it instead of whining and then applying a patch.
Yeah,
God,
saying it's too hard, you know. So make it easier for me.
Like, no, you know what? Play a different game then. Get the fuck out of here.
You know what? Fuck you, people. If I ever make a Street Fighter game, which is more than likely I will, someday, I'm gonna make a Blanca with a glitch that he's just gonna keep spinning if he connects, and he'll spin until you're dead. So if he connects once, your ass is dead. So figure that shit out.
So no light punches to stop it. This one, no. Haha, you're done.
No, if he connects, he just spins until your life bar is gone.
If you hit him, it'll just hurt you more.
It was so dumb. I would always get Blanca down to the G string of health, and then he would do that damn spin attack. That's when it's got you can't even see the life bar.
I love good fighting games. Like Killer Instinct was absolutely fantastic. Street Fighter is great. Guilty Gear is probably my favorite.
You know, for a minute there, Marvel vs. Capcom was my absolute favorite.
God, 3 ruined it so hard.
3 destroyed it. That was it.
I get, let's make it so that anyone in the world can play a fighting game. Cool, I understand, except they went so far as to be like, I can push square.
Yeah.
You know how I beat Marvel vs. Capcom 2? In the middle of a panic attack. I was playing it at the arcade. It was the last boss. My health bar was almost gone. I just started banging my head, literally, on the controller and wiggling the stick. I was like, do something! You were there!
Yeah, I remember that.
You watched that concussion.
That's awesome.
But it's all of a sudden I heard, bam, KO! And I was like, was it me? Oh, thank God it was him.
Yeah.
Take that, Onslaught?
Yeah, but you know those cheap Asian kids in the arcades?
I hated those. That's the entire reason I'm glad the arcade industry buckled. Because we would go to our local arcade with our, couple of bucks worth of quarters, and we want to actually play the game. We see Marvel vs. Capcom.
You're like, sweet.
We want to beat the game. But, we get like 3 fights in. Some kid walks up, puts a quarter in the machine, does this bajillion hit combo that he read online, kills us, gets smoked by the computer boss because he can't combo juggle a floating hand punching him in the face.
Yeah.
And then it's like, go fuck yourself.
I taught that one kid a lesson. I was playing as a cool guy in Street Fighter 3. And he was
never
doing his
seen the Raging Demon.
Yeah, he was doing his combo, and while he was doing that, my bar was going up, right? And I hit the Raging Demon on him.
He's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, everybody was like, whoa, because that's all he knew how to do was just that one combo.
When Street Fighter 4 came out, there was a few characters who had flowcharts released. That's literally, if you do this, you won't lose. Ken had one that was literally Shoryuken, Hadoken. That's it. Can you hit them with Shoryuken? No, Hadoken. Can you hit them with Hadoken? No. Can you hit them with Shoryuken? Yes. Shoryuken. That's all it was.
What if I can't do either?
I start playing as Ken, and I go, I'm not going to Shoryuken or Hadoken in these fights. And it's hilarious, because now when people play against me, they're just like, oh, you're just going to do Flowchart Ken? I'm like, yeah, totally! And then I rock them, they're like, you didn't do Flowchart Ken. I'm like, no, I'm not retarded.
No, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm not going to...
I actually like playing games.
I used to go to the arcade down from the street from where I lived when I lived overseas in South Korea. And... what I would do is no one would be on the X-Men Children of Atom game.
Oh, I love that game.
So I'd hop on it, and I'd try a new character every week, and I'd be going, and then some kid who didn't speak English would come up and beat my ass every time. I'm like, well, shit, I just gotta get better. Oh, shit, just gotta... And finally I beat one of them, but then his friend got him and showed me what for.
But then, you just wait around for a minute till the last boss just wipes the floor with them, because you can't pull any of that cheap shit on a guy who's floating in the air shooting laser beams.
Yeah. fighting Galactus's hand in his head, and that's like, you know...
That's Capcom 3.
When I started getting more serious in Street Fighter, because I had a buddy who was rated in the top 100 Akuma players in the world.
Gosh.
And I was playing with him all the time, so I got really good at Street Fighter, and I was playing in the arcade, and I was just going, you know, against CPUs. It is not the same fucking game. I'm like, oh, okay, I can beat Seth all day. Who cares? No, I got absolutely wrecked, and I'm like, what the hell? I can beat my buddy who's in the top 100 Akuma players in the world, but I can't beat this.